Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And I know it's been a little while, but there's been a few things going on, and I've been discerning a few impressions or messages I feel I've been getting and wanting to make sure I was getting a compounded effect, that it wasn't a one-time thing, but it was a repeated mention from Our Lady on things. So a lot of times you just have to be very, very careful that you're not getting ahead of yourself or whatever, so you have to take the time to wait, ask for confirmations, receive those confirmations, and then repeat the process, making sure, double sure, before you go and try saying anything like this. But that being said, I'm glad to be back and hope you folks are all doing well. So I wanted to answer a couple of questions that a few people have asked me about previous podcasts. And the one podcast when I talked about how heaven was about 100 years away. And I was talking about how the physical transportation of our body, if we were to move at the speed of light from the time we were born in a spacecraft and to shoot out to the edge of space and the cosmic horizon, which is a separation between what the mathematicians theorize as open space and what lies beyond it. So we'll just call that heaven from our perspective, because God has said that there's heaven, in the middle heaven, and there's heaven on earth. So there's like 3 different levels. So trying to figure that out in our human type of thinking and the mathematicians and their logic and what they put together, it appears that if you were to put someone in a spacecraft at the moment they're born and shoot them out to the edge, they would hit the cosmic horizon in 100 years. And I was talking about that because my mother had just turned 100 years old. And I was trying to think, if she had been traveling at the speed of light since the moment she was born, and the speed of light being 186,000 miles a second, which is essentially 7 times around the Earth's equator, that's pretty damn fast. And so if you were moving that quickly all your life, she would have just gotten to the cosmic horizon, as mathematicians theorize this, about her 100th birthday. So that's why I said that heaven is about 100 years away, physically. But actually, what happens when we die, I believe, and there's been some other supporting evidence to this, that when you die, your soul is transported at the speed of thought. And so that's how things happen without your body and without this, that the moment you die and your soul leaves your body, as people have talked about and is theorized, and the Bible actually talks about having to remove the body to enter heaven. So with that being said, if we move at the speed of thought, that the moment you die, heaven is there to receive you and you to enter in, if your soul is ready for that. If you believe in purgatory, then there might be an off-ramp for you on the way there. They say, hey, we got to take care of some business over here, got to do a check around, make sure you're ready to go in, because you have to be pure in order to enter into heaven, to join the communion of saints. So that being said, when you die and you are extricated from your body, your soul is received into heaven, or by heaven's system, or whatever it is at that point, whatever you want to call it, whether it's Peter at the gates or some sort of off-ramp like I described for purgatory. That happens in a moment, in an instant. And that's been corroborated by people who've had end-of-life stories, or after-death experiences and come back to life. Remarkable means that they've experienced the same or similar situations. And I experienced something like that in an instant when I was just shown heaven's light by Our Lady in 2001, when she wanted to show me what was at stake for millions of souls. Was that heaven's light, just the presence of heaven's light was enough to convince me. I didn't have to see anything. I didn't have to know any more. It was plenty for me. I don't want to take my faith past that of a 9-year-old. I want to remain childlike, because it's essential for us to remain childlike, because this childlike sort of faith is exactly what's going on with the communion of saints in heaven. They're not being a bunch of intellectuals up there trying to question everything, because they already know. The answers are already there, that what they need to exist in God's presence. So they don't need to question things further because they already know. And this is part of this communion of saints. They all agree, they all know. There isn't a faithful person in heaven. They all know. They don't need to believe anymore because they know. There's a difference. And so with that being said, so if we travel at the speed of thought and our communion with each other is perfect and we're pure, that's a pretty good situation to be in. So let's strive for that. So if there's any more questions on that, or anyone has, send them through, but probably we're all going to have to wait till that time of determination for ourselves to make sure whether or not what I just said was a bunch of bullshit, or if it's closer to the fact than what people may think. So there's a naturalness about it. There's a childlike nature about it. And that's why, we're always implored by Our Lady and our Lord to have a childlike faith. Take what God has said to be the truth and accept it and live within that. And don't try to fight it so much. Don't try to be so selfish about your need to know everything. Let faith have its place, and let that grow into knowledge and a confirmation in your life. You're going to be a lot happier about it, and you are really going to be, I think, more joyful in your day. And that's another thing that Our Lady was trying to impress upon me, was for people to stop being so serious about things. Everything doesn't have to be an absolute test of wills. We all have free will. Let people have their free will to be to determine their own fate on things. You're not responsible for me. I'm not responsible for you in what happens. You are responsible for you, and I am responsible for me. So I will accept whatever comes my way. You should too. But try to have some fun along the way. See the beauty in nature, because that is where God is. If you ever want to look around and say, where is God? Well, he's all around you. God is nature. God uses nature to communicate. And God used nature to communicate about the lightning strikes in Buenos Aires, Argentina, back when Pope Francis had a birthday, and on the day after, or maybe it was the day of, when he talked about blessing same-sex unions and saying they weren't going to bless the union so much as just the two people, so like we called it, blessing the tires of the bicycle and not the whole bicycle, even though they were all part of the same integral thing. So there was a polite disconnect in the language that the Vatican was trying to get everyone to think at that time. And on that day, a bolt of lightning hit a statue of St. Peter outside the Buenos Aires, I don't know, it was a cathedral, but it was Pope Francis's when he was Cardinal Bergoglio. It had been his place. So what they did when they hit that statue of St. Peter is it blew the keys right out of St. Peter's hand and actually took his whole hand off, what they called the blessing hand. So the entire arm and hand was destroyed, along with the halo that was on the statue. The rest of the statue was left intact, but the halo is blown off, and the keys were blown off and destroyed, and the hand was destroyed. Outward and very direct signs by God using nature to communicate. And then on the day actually before that, when Pope Benedict XVI, when they announced his retirement, that night, I believe, lightning hit the top of St. Peter's Cathedral twice. A very unusual event, but that happened on the night when he was sat down, and that was the night when the coup d'etat, helped along by the Obama administration and the One World Order people, that was when the Vatican was taken over, was there in 2012, 2013, the transition time. the State Department of the United States had already been working with Cardinal Bergoglio for quite some time through the helpful intermediation of then Cardinal Ted McCarrick, who was under, suspicion and investigation for his own sexual predator situations when he was soliciting sex from homosexuals through the veil of the confessional. And so these men would come in and confess to their sins of sodomy and things like that, and the cardinal would say, hey, why don't you come on over to my place, we'll talk about this a little bit more. And then bad things happened after that. So the communication on this has been going on since 2012. We've been situated into a place where we, I think, don't have a legitimate pope right now. And if you go into, I think it's the Sistine Chapel, where they've got the ornaments around the top of the ceiling there, where they have what we call medallions, if you will, up on the walls of the different popes throughout the centuries. And when they designed the chapel, they only put in so many spaces, because in their prophecies at that time, it called for only so many popes would be here before the church would fall. And so they put in all those spaces for all these apparently prophesied popes that would be happening in the Catholic Church. And then when they got to the last emblem area, when that was filled up with Pope Benedict XVI, there was no more space for any more badges or medallions to go up for any new popes. So this would have basically said that the prophecies that had been called for clear back when they were building the structure had come to pass. And so there is an outward sign that this is upheld in prophecy, that the end of our legitimate popes has come to an end. And so it's time now for the church to not necessarily fall, but change and probably be redirected. And that's what I think is going on right now in the church. I think there is a division. It's going on right before your eyes. There's a soft parade of men are leaving the faith. New people are coming in, but a lot of men may be still in the pews, but I don't think that they're really in communion with everything that's going on. They're not in agreement with everything. Now, church teaching says you can be in total disagreement with the person sitting next to you and still be in agreement with the church. And they say be in communion with the church, and you don't have to be so much in communion with the neighbor sitting next to you, practicing their faith. You don't concentrate on your own path upward in communication and being in communion with the church. So it allows for people to agree to disagree and still be in communion with the church. They can still keep getting your contributions and have you as a member. Things like that. It's kind of, it's okay. Don't worry about that. We're all about this, right? But then when this up here gets distorted from the people that are already not agreeing with the person next to them because of maybe some differences of opinion about how nature works, and so we get this kind of behavior going on, with cardinals like McElroy and Hebda up in Minneapolis. These guys are problematic. You got Pham out in San Diego. These guys are all trying to encourage and help out the LGBTQ place within the Catholic Church. Now, they're also saying that sodomy is not a sin, or they call it homosexual sex is not a sin. Well, okay, what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about sodomy. And so the cardinals who are trying to protect this are ones who are actually accused of actually being participants in the practice. So it's kind of like the fox, guarding the hen house type of thing. So the criteria for being a Catholic and what they're trying to tell people is okay now is going against the nature of true men. Now, part of the problem I would subscribe to is we don't have real men in our priesthood. We have males. We have indoctrinated males. but I don't think we have real men like we used to have. Now, I was taught a lot by Father Robert Habel when I was growing up and when I was at the Springs in Rome City and trying to understand what was going on here with this Our Lady of America devotion. Was it true? Was it not true? Was somebody out just trying to make money? All these things, because I really didn't care. I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I was the one who was being accused of lots of stuff, and I never took a dime from it. So other people were. The people in Fostoria were trying to make money off it. The people who have it now, it's always a fund drive, money, 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 give us money type of thing. And it becomes a little bit distasteful after a bit. But this push for material things is what Our Lady was concerned about beginning back in 1917. And probably even before that, but I don't know everything that had happened. But when she came as Our Lady of Fatima, she was concerned about the materialism of the priests and how it was taking them away from their calling of serving the souls and trying to collect the souls for heaven. And then she asked them the Pope to release this information. I think gave him till 1960 to do it or something like that. It gave them over 40 years to self-correct. They didn't do it. And in 1956, when she came as Our Lady of America, she echoed the same thing again because she saw that it wasn't progressing to this outward admission by the church and this correction of their errors and their behaviors. So in 1956, she echoed again. And I think that's one of the reasons why Our Lady of America devotion isn't moving along faster, because I don't think the church really wants to answer for their own interior in-house problems and this sort of indoctrination that they have going on and how they allow things to happen for the sake of, it's okay, we took care of it, nothing to see here, we got to pray about this, that kind of stuff. Well, there's times when prayer isn't enough. Sometimes you need to put somebody in prison and take them out of the situation of power and privilege that they have as a priest or a superior in the church. Now, this isn't strictly a Catholic thing. Oh, my gosh, no. Oh, hell no. You got the Catholic Church, you got the Southern Baptists, you got the Assemblies of God, you had Bill Hybels was up there in Chicago, Carl Lentz, Robert Morris, public school teachers now. I mean, it's like rampant what's going on. But it's been going on for decades. It's been going on since adults were with children and adults had, problematic thinking. We've had mental illness all throughout our life. And we have people with strange fetishes that get let go because everyone says, oh, it's okay, they're such a nice person and all like that. All the while, your kid is suffering because they're too afraid to tell you anything. Or your wife is telling you something, or your husband, he's getting, touched or something like that. Everyone's a target when power is misused. Then you have a strange fetish going on. So this is bad. So we have public school teachers, we got Congress members, people in power and authority all over the place doing bad things. And they need to be held accountable. But, it just seems that the church and our government and the people still haven't gotten the message. And these things continue and the patterns are endorsed and continue on with. And this all goes down to this old broken windows sort of thinking. And the broken windows theory is that if you're trying to police a community and keep order in it and keep safety for the citizens, when vandals come out, they start breaking windows and doing graffiti type things. If you don't crack down on that, if you don't stop it in its infancy of going on, and you don't penalize it somehow, it's going to continue. The lack of penalty serves as its own reward for these people who are doing these atrocious things. So if they found out in New York City, and that was like under Rudy Giuliani, he started going after the small crimes, people breaking windows, people jumping turnstiles in the subway system to avoid paying, $1 fare or something like that. If you stop those people who are common offenders, they don't go on to create bigger and greater offenses against the community and hurt people and put things at risk. So if you nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife used to say, you don't let it grow into a bigger problem. So our society and our governments have allowed for broken windows to continue. And so we see this craziness foster itself now to where you've got assassination attempts going on. You've got people making some outrageous claims about gay people being rounded up by the thousands each month and fed to alligators in Florida. There are people out there that believe that that is happening. They truly do. And they are insistent that this is going on. And the only reason we don't know about it is because they're gay people. And I asked the person who was telling me this, I said, well, then where is the list of missing gay people? Show me that. Give me some evidence to at least start with. They don't have anything. Oh, it's out there. It's out there. No, it's not out there. It's in here, in their head. So when Rudy Giuliani went after the small crimes in New York City, crime dropped, murder dropped, all these other, accessory type crimes stopped, or at least went way, way down. And New York was a fun, safe place to walk around in again. After he got out, they brought in a bunch of progressive and weak mayors. Well, they stopped doing the policing of the small stuff, and now the big stuff is rampant, and you don't even recognize New York City anymore. So, well, the same kind of thinking and policing that went on in the government and in other areas in our society has also invaded our church policings, not just the Catholic Church, but all of them. I mean, they're all having troubles right now because they're not taking care of the small things, and they're letting the small things get away, and then the big things happen. Now, we just had an episode like this in my area. We had a small rural church in the Fort Wayne area, had a visiting Nigerian priest who creeped on a woman multiple times, I guess. It was very, very unsavory. When it got reported of these, sexual predating going on this woman, what they did was they huddled around the woman and they got her to not go to the police on things. They got him on a plane, got him the hell out of the country, got him into Nigeria, back to his bishop overnight. But it may have been going on for a few days, but once they got her to sit quiet, they got him on a plane and got him out. And it's like it's a kind of a non-issue. They admit that something bad happened, but apparently this guy is still a priest, and he's just over in Nigeria now, and he could be doing the same thing. Do we know? No. Do we assume? Yeah, because I'm sure he'll be back, because this is the pattern that's been going on, not just with the Catholic Church, but the Southern Baptists and all these other non-aligned churches. They get a guy who creeps on people, and they all say, well, we got to forgive, we got to forgive, we got to forgive. Well, how many times? I say when you're something like this, and it's so precious in dealing with people's spiritual guidance, that you don't have room for error in these things, and you shouldn't accept it. And I think this is what Our Lady is concerned about right now, is that she has asked her priests and her church and her people to be mindful of these things and to take action. She also sent us people like Archbishop Fulton Sheen, who they're moving towards canonization right now. I think they beatified him this last week. Good news there. But one of his main messages, and one of the things that's going to be troublesome for a lot of the folks in the church, was he always was calling for the laity to be the police of the church and say, it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to be making sure our priests behave like priests and our bishops behave like bishops. And when they don't, we need to speak up. We can't just say, oh, okay. You have to say, no, not okay. Stop it now. And the way you have to fight back on these things is they don't really care about your words so much as they care about your checkbooks. So I would say it's probably a good time to maybe dial things back a little bit. If you want to direct your monies to good causes, and Catholic Charities used to do some really good stuff, but right now they've been weaponized by the Democratic Party through their NGOs, and they're doing some really bad things. And I'm going to get into that more about how things go. And if you agree with stuff like that, you should probably go watch a cat video or something like that. But there's a problem going on. The church is splitting, and it's going to be an ideological split. Like I said, the Roman Catholic Church will probably be divided into two. You're going to have your progressive side of things, which might be the Roman Catholic Church, but then I think you're going to have a new Western Catholic Church, which is going to come out of this, and I think is forming through certain societies already here in the United States and North America, and even in South America. There's a lot going on because a lot of those people down there don't want to have their churches hijacked for mental illnesses and things like that, and helping to subscribe and promote fetishes that don't belong, that aren't against, they go directly against God's teaching, and it's heresy. That's kind of what we have going on right now. And I know a lot of people out there, especially Catholics, who go say, "Oh, you're such an asshole," and all like that. Fine. Go ahead. They called me an asshole from the very beginning. They called me an asshole during the trial. Fine. I'm used to it. You know what? The jury believed me, not them. And there was a reason. Because I told the truth. They told a bunch of lies. So it continues. I'm not going to go down for a lie. You shouldn't either. We need to stay on the truth. You need to hold your priests and bishops accountable. You can't let them just run amok on things and start changing what it is that God put before us with the Ten Commandments and in the truth that we find in nature, and not in what man wants to create using nature for his own purposes. Don't mess with God, and he won't mess with you. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.